Welcome to the Empowered Team podcast. I am your host, Kari Schneider, and this is all about your self-mastery so you can feel empowered in your life and be up to all of the things that really, really matter to you. Today's topic is a great one. Why? Because I don't think there's any of us who listen to this podcast who have not struggled with this thing, how to say no. How to say no. Oh my gosh. This is the kind of thing that I have struggled with myself. I've had people pleasing behaviors, and I've heard so many clients struggle with this. And it tends to be very contextual. So listen into this because the reason this is really going to make a difference for you is it'll preserve your energy instead of really feeling drained. You're going to build trust with other people because they're going to start to understand that they can rely on your word, that what you're saying is what you mean. And we're going to break the cycle of resentment and burnout. Why does this resentment happen? When we're saying dirty yeses or things that we are trying to please another person, but we don't really mean, that's a dirty yes. Then we start to build up this resentment because we've just compromised ourselves, lost respect with ourselves, and they start thinking something of us that's not true. And we end up resenting them, even though we created the situation. How funny is that? Yep, we do it. I know you've done it. So here's how this topic came up. Yes, I've struggled with saying no, but it really became poignant to me the other day when I was working with a client, and the client said it was a coaching session, a private session, and the client is very successful, has achieved and beyond all of the goals that they've created in their life and career. They've exceeded them all, and they are growing and working on self-mastery. And the thing they asked me for was, I have to be better at saying no. I am not very good at saying no. How do I say no? And that is what prompted me to dive into this particular topic further, because I thought if this person is struggling with it, if I've struggled with it, then chances are you would like to know a little bit more about this too. Now, I want you to hear my response, because he was making it as though he didn't know how to say no. He was making it as though he wasn't good at saying no. And I'm sure that I've definitely done that. I'm sure we've all done that in some form or another. So here was my response. I said, "What do you mean? You're an expert at saying no." And he paused and he leaned in a little bit and was curious. And I said, "You've said no for decades. You've just done it with different skills. You've done it with avoidance, maybe a little bit of manipulation in there with people-pleasing behaviors." And he just sighed because he knew that that's exactly what he'd been doing. And what it meant simply, this is the simplest thing. It's not about making those behaviors wrong. It was just that was the skill set. That was the toolkit that worked for him at that time. And now, at this stage in life, he wasn't using that tool anymore. He wasn't using those skills that worked in the past. He was learning how to say no in a different way that felt more integral to who he is at this stage of the game. Now, I imagine that if you're listening to this podcast and you are into growth, and this is all about self-mastery, that you've probably been in the same boat, where how you handled things in the past don't work for you as much anymore. So let's explore how we can say no and preserve our energy and create great connections, not lose connections, create boundaries, but wonderful trust and connections. And at the same time, not foster any sort of resentment or drain or burnout from overpromising or pleasing or delivering things that aren't fully aligned for you. All right. Isn't that great? I think that sounds great. All right. The first no, here we go. These are some of my favorites, and I'll highlight the one that is my absolute favorite because it works so well. The first one is the clear and direct no. Now, there's respect with this. It's so important that in this clear and direct no, it is not abrupt. It is not, the tone is not cold. It is warm. It is considerate. It has every aspect of considering the other person with respect. So the clear and direct no might sound like, I won't be doing that right now. I hope it goes well for you. Period. Now, I have a friend and client who says no is a complete sentence. No. Sometimes that's hard for us to deliver and hard for someone to receive because someone wants to hear a reason why. People don't have to have a reason why. They might want it, but you don't need to give a reason why. However, just no with a period at the end is very confronting for the deliverer and those who are receiving that. Consider that with a family. No. You feel like you're the bad parent or the one who's just the dictator. However, if it's, I won't be able to do that, or I won't be doing that right now, I hope it goes well. There's that level of consideration and that level of, it's not guilt, that level of understanding that the other person may not want to hear no from you. And that might be the hardest thing to deal with, is the fact that you don't want to disappoint them by telling them no. Understandable. And you're going to disappoint them more if you string them along. So you might as well say the no in a way that is considerate. I won't be doing that right now. I hope it goes well for you. I won't be joining you. I hope you enjoy your time. You don't have to say why. If you choose to, great, but not laden with all the guilt and all the putting it all on the reason why instead of that it's your choice. Your personal power comes by making your choice. Your personal power does not come when you're making all kinds of reasons why you're making your choice. Your choice is your choice without anything else, regardless of what else is going on. You can just say no with no reason. Because someone else wants a reason for it doesn't mean you have to give a reason. How cool is that? So that's number one, the direct no. And this one might be the most uncomfortable for people. I won't be doing that. Have fun. There it is. Done. Done and done. All right, let's go to no number 2. This one's the values aligned no. And anyone who works with me or has listened to this podcast knows that everything that I do is around my values. And I'm revisiting my values on a regular basis in order to make sure that I'm continuing to align my life with what I value, what I want to value now, what I want to value in my future, and align my life with that. So this sounds like you may not be talking about your values when you're saying a no, but what it sounds like in saying a no is, this doesn't align with my priorities right now, so I'll have to pass. Now, if you're in a work environment and someone's asking you to do your job and you say that, you might have to take a hard look at whether or not you should still be in that job. Because if you're doing things that don't align with who you are or what's integral to who you are in your life, then maybe it's not the greatest spot for you. However, if it's someone you know and like and trust, then they're going to understand that when you say, this isn't aligned with my priorities right now, that it's not that you necessarily want to say no or don't want to do the thing with them. It's that something else is more important. Now, again, this is where the rub comes in because we don't like telling other people that this is more important than what they want, or this is more important than them. That feels a little bit crummy. Now, it feels a little bit crummy likely because of however we grew up and whatever patterns that we were exposed to or how we were taught as children. There's plenty of places in the world, especially European countries, that have no problem with that's not part of my priorities. There's no guilt around it. But so many of us were raised in environments where we feel like we have to say yes. We feel like we have to please someone. There's been plenty of guilt around all of the time. You don't have to live in that. So this one, the second no, with your values and aligning with your values, it works because it reinforces your own integrity. This is where you are rebuilding your self-respect. I promise you that if you've told people no and haven't really and and haven't really followed through, or you've told people yes and you've meant no, then guess what? You've been draining your own self-respect, perhaps for decades. So this allows you to not only rebuild your respect for yourself, but also create an environment where they can respect you because they understand that you're going to only do things that align with who you are and what you value. So that one, it's not rejection, it's teaching yourself and teaching others what's important to you. All right, that's number 2, the values align no. So we have the direct no, the values align no, and now we're on number 3. It's the not now no. It's deferred. It's a no that you can't do at this point, but you can later on. And it sounds something like, I can't commit to that right now. If things shift later, if there's a possibility, I'll let you know. Now, this offers the other person hope, but you only say this to them if that is true. If you genuinely want to do the thing, know that the timing isn't right, and feel like there's an opportunity for the timing to be right in the near future or not too long future. If that's the case, then use the not now no. But if it's not the case, do not use this because you can't handle a direct no, or you can't handle the values aligned no. If this just feels softer to you, but you don't really have any intention of doing anything, then do not string someone along. Only ever tell them a no like this if you genuinely believe that you will take action or go forward on the thing when or if things shift later. So the not now no, be very careful with this one because this can suck you in to people-pleasing behavior if that's been a pattern for you. This is like very, very close. It's a little too close to that people-pleasing behavior. That's the not now no. Now, number 4 is my favorite, my absolute favorite type of no, because it does a few things. Not only does it align with what you want, but it also serves that person in the best way that you can. Now, this one is the no plus suggestion. It's a combo no. We love a combo no. A combo no is simply, that's not something I can take on, but have you considered asking Jane or Sam? I love pointing people in the right direction. If I can't follow through with them, I want to help them. I want their needs to be met. I want them to have success. And if I can't do it, or I'm not the best person to do it, I would rather say no and offer something for them. My favorite of all no's. It's the no combo, the no plus suggestion. I love this one. So that's number 4. I also really like number 5, saving some of the best for last here. Number 5 is the empathetic no. And this is where you're really leaning into supporting that person. So I really hear how important this is to you. I still need to say no, but I want to support you another way if I can. Maybe we have a call and tell me all about it, even though I can't be there. So that's an example of what this one can do. Now, what you're doing here is you're honoring their emotions because, as you can tell, by the time we've got to this 5th no, You can tell that the friction is coming in at every no. If you imagine yourself doing it, the friction comes in every no, often because you don't want to disappoint them. So if you don't want to disappoint them, tell them. Tell them how you feel about it. You're thinking about them. You know how they might feel if you can't be involved or you're about to say no. And you want to honor that and validate how they are feeling. So this one's a really great one, no, the empathetic no. I really hear how important this is to you. I still need to say no, but I want to support you in another way. Maybe a phone call, maybe a message. Tell me how it went. I would love to hear. Something like that. Support the person. Again, you're only going to offer a phone call or a note or anything like that if it's a absolute yes on that part. So don't do the dirty yes hooked in with the no. Remember, it all has to feel fluid. It all has to feel aligned, congruent with what you want, who you are. And if you end up saying a yes, but you really don't want to, be clear about it. I've said this to my kids. Well, this isn't the most convenient time for me to drive you, but if no one else can drive you, I will drive you right now, even though it's not a great thing for me. Now, I want to make sure that that doesn't become the pattern, but I want them to understand that I'm bending for their needs and not to guilt or anything like that. And I may not always be able to do that. So it's being honest without guilting. So we're not going to go and say, I can't believe you did this. And why are you asking me of this? And okay, we're not turning it into a martyrdom type of situation. We're keeping it clean. The cleaner we keep it, the more we respect ourselves. The cleaner we keep it, the more they feel good about their interactions with us now and in the future, because they're going to know that when they come to us, we're going to tell the truth. We're going to give them the goods. And when it's a yes, it's a hell yes. And when it's a no, it's often not what we want to say. And sometimes it is what we want to say. But we're going to be clear and they're going to know what they're getting with us. All right, so I'm going to recap those no's really quickly. Remember, this is serving you. It's serving your own self-respect. It's enhancing your own energy and focus while reducing any sort of resentment, not allowing your boundaries to be all over the place and not really know who you are. All right, the number one no is the direct no. Number one, the clear and direct no. You're being very, very respectful. I won't be able to do that right now. I hope it goes well for you. Number two, this is the values aligned no. This doesn't align with my current priorities, so I'll have to pass. Number three, this is the not now no. This is a great one. It's the one where I can't commit to this right now. If things shift later on, I'll let you know if I can be involved. And number four, my absolute favorite, that's not something I can take on. Have you considered asking Jane? Have you considered asking Sam? They might be able to help you out on this, even though I can't. And number five, this one's fantastic as well, the empathetic no. I really, really understand that this is so important to you. I still need to say no, but I want to support you in another way if I can. So these are 5 examples of how to say no and why it's so important for you to start to practice these so those dirty yeses aren't coming in, the people pleasing isn't coming in, and your burnout going up. Remember, when we're trying to please someone else, it's not doing them a favor. It's actually manipulative. We're trying to behave in a way that changes their perception of us. And it's not congruent, and they're not really getting the real us. So when we clean this up, it feels really good for ourselves in the long run, even though it might feel a little hard to try something new and approach a new way of doing things. Okay, there it is. This is a big one. It's a nugget of an episode, and I hope you start to practice it right away. Now, if you know someone who struggled with saying no, pass this on. Be that person who can support a sister, support a brother. Let's go. I know you're empowered. You take care of yourself. You take care of others, you take action, and you are up to something bigger than yourself. So go get it. Have a great rest of your day and a wonderful week.